When I left is what changed me, because at that point I'd got so involved with the cult that I detached so much from the real world. And so when I came back to the real world, I had nothing. So I really felt I could just start from square zero.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Artists of Data Science. Today, we've got a conversations episode where we get to hear from people who are doing interesting work, pursuing their dreams, and adding value to the world. We're going to get inside their heads, see what makes them tick, and walk away with a new perspective that will help us in our journeys. These episodes are much less structured and far less formal than what you normally hear on the show. They're going to be raw, unedited, unproduced for the most part. Thanks for tuning in, and I'd love to hear what you think about these episodes. Feel free to shoot me an email at theartistsofdatascience@gmail.com with your thoughts. Our guest today is fascinated by data science, AI, and tech applications in business. He's a passionate advocate for harnessing the power of machine learning and data science to help people become more productive and effective. His insightful and prolific writing has earned him the distinction of being one of the top writers in artificial intelligence on Towards Data Science. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our guest today, Kurtis Pykes. Kurtis, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on the show today.
How you doing, Harpreet? Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, man, it is my pleasure. So let's learn a little bit more about you, man. Talk to us about where you grew up and what was it like there.
So I'm from the UK, London, south of London, a place called Croydon. We can get even more specific and say Thornton Heath. Boy, let's just say it's not the best. There's a lot of knife crime here, a lot of robbery. It's a tough neighborhood, you know. So yeah, boy, I don't have to play.
So is that where what's that TV show, man? Top Boy. Is that where Top Boy was filmed? Like the Croydon area, or is that somewhere else?
You know, I've never watched Top Boy, so I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
but like, do you know what? I think it's in East London.
Okay.
It might be in East London, so no.
So what would you say is a event or something that happened to you that contributed in shaping who you are today?
Oh, good question. I'll say there's two events, actually. The first one, I was 17 and I got a phone call from my friend telling me he's been stabbed, and it was my closest friend at the time, in fact. And I was at football. I was living in a place called Essex, which is about 2.5 hours away from where I live now. But he called me saying he's been stabbed, and I thought it was a joke and all of these things. So I've cut the phone. I'm at football, and then I've got a call back straight away, and there's girls screaming on the phone like, "Yo, your friend, he's been stabbed. Like, he's not breathing," and all these things. And I left where I was immediately to get back as fast as I could. And, the train journey was 2 hours. And we have something called, probably have underground service where you are. I don't know what I'm talking like. You wouldn't, but I was on the underground, no service, no nothing. And for an hour and a half, I'm just thinking like, I can't talk to anyone. I can't, like, my mind was all over the place. And then by the time I got back, there was a helicopter airlifting him. Sadly, he passed away. But I think at that moment, I just realized that life is short and you have to really enjoy life and things like that. So I started trying a lot of different things just so that can you still hear me? I can't hear you.
Yeah, it froze off just during that point where you're talking about, you realize that life is short and that there's all these things and then it froze.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
Yeah.
No, free time. Okay. Yeah, I realized that life was short, and you've really got to enjoy the time you have now, living in the now. But I was young at the time. I think I was 17, so my first thought wasn't about I'm gonna start going to church and these things. I went a bit left for a while, like doing really silly things, and it was crazy because at the time I was doing well in my football career. I'd just been offered a professional football contract as well, but these things happening back home were distracting. It was playing on my mind all the time, no matter where I was. And yeah, so again, after a bit of time, I started to just think about what am I doing? Because eventually I've stopped playing football, and I was just flashing back on my life, and I was like, wait a minute, I had the opportunity to become a professional. I'm now in a situation where people from a certain area don't like me. If they see me, it's going to be a situation. And I was like, how the hell did I end up in this place? So I was just thinking, I need to start doing things that's going to allow me to get out of this environment and show people that you don't only have to become a footballer or a rapper to make something of yourself. So I started doing things, and then I ended up in church. Now, here's the second time my life changed. I've ended up in church, and long story short, the church is a cult. Yeah, it's messed up. I was there for 4 years. I rose to the top rankings of the church, where I was leading my own church within the church. So I was preaching, I think, twice a week to about 100 people, most of them older than me. And, I'll say not the experience of being there is what changed me. When I left is what changed me, because at that point, I'd got so involved with the cult that I detached so much from the real world. And so when I came back to the real world, I had nothing. So I really felt I could just start from square zero. I didn't have no friends. I didn't have no contacts. I didn't have anything. So for me, it was just an opportunity to start life all over again and start doing the things that I thought were right and start researching the things that I thought were right. And obviously, where I've been involved in a cult, I was like, yeah, no one's ever going to manipulate my mind again. So I'll do due diligence. I'll read about thinking. I'll read about learning. Well, I'll just say, yeah, definitely those two moments, my friend passing away, and that moment I left the cult and I knew I had nothing apart from the people. Though, of course, my family wouldn't leave me and stuff like that. There was friends that won't leave. Of course, there were friends who were like, nah, you changed up or whatnot, which was cool. I understood them. But definitely having that opportunity to start life all over again was the best thing that ever has happened to me.
Holy shit, man. That is fucking crazy. Like, how old are you?
I'm 24.
Damn. So you went through this shit super young in life, man. You've gone through a lot of stuff that a lot of people will never, ever imagine. How did you, okay, first of all, I mean, I'm sorry to hear about your friend passing away, man. Like, I've had some shit happen like that to me as well. Not in that exact kind of way, but I can understand what it's like to lose a friend at a young age. That shit sticks with you for life, and it really starts changing your perspective on things, for sure. But man, this cult you're a part of, that is insane. How did it happen? Like, yeah, I mean, people who get involved in cults, the thing about cults is that when you're in a cult, you don't know that you're in a cult. Yeah. So how did you start to realize, like, holy shit, man, like something is off?
So whilst I was there, of course, like I said to you, I was trying things. Like, I wanted to make something of myself, to be an example to other people as well, and just show them you don't have to play football to make it out of this area, or you don't have to be a rapper to make it out of this area. So whilst I was there, I was still studying, and I realized that a lot of people weren't studying. They were just taking what they were told. So like one time I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do my own studying. So I read the Bible cover to cover by myself in 1 month. And then I just started to realize some things. I was like, nah, man, God wouldn't want me to be going through the stuff that I'm going through right now, you know? So I started thinking about my future. But this is going to sound really dumb, but we don't really do that whilst you're there. In a cult, you're kind of led to believe in this mysterious future where God's going to come and do some crazy things and you're going to be the one that survives it because, you're part of this movement. So I started to think of my future. I started to think of, what do I want? Because if God wants me to be happy and stuff like that. So, I just started thinking about my future, and little by little things started to fall off. Like, I'll read something one day and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to stop hanging around with these people. They're good people. I don't hate them. I'm not angry at them, but they're not leading me in this direction that I want to go. So that would drop off. Gradually, things were dropping off. And then one day I was at work and it just hit me. It's like, yeah, you're never going back. And I was like, cool. So I messaged the people I needed to message and told them, like, I'm not going back. Do you know what? If you're so interested, there's a documentary on something. Have you heard of the BBC?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a documentary on the BBC. I'm on it, and we talk more about all of it. And so, if you want to check it out, I can send you a link.
Yeah. Send me a link, man. I'm gonna put that into show notes as well. That is crazy. So, like, was your pursuit then after leaving this cult, after going through all that stuff?
Yeah.
What led you to like data science? Was that did that come from like a desire to like this pursuit of the truth almost, or am I just way off base there?
No, not really. Like I said, whilst I was there, I was focused on bettering myself. So I was working as a postman whilst I was there. So I used to spend a lot of time listening to podcasts and stuff like that. And I was listening to an interview by Bill Gates where he was asked a question: if you never founded Microsoft, what would you be doing? And he said he'll be an AI researcher. So I started studying it and reading about what it is you need to do. And the truth is, at first, I thought I was never going to do it. It was too tough. The things that I was talking about, I didn't really have an education because I left school, or I left the education system a lot earlier than people because I had been given a professional contract to play football. So I was just like, nah. Even though I wasn't bad in school, I done pretty well in school, but I was just like, nah, this ain't going to happen. But I don't know what was going on at that time. I think a week or two later, I went into work and there was like, I'm surplus to requirements. So I got made redundant on the spot. And because it was an agency job, they didn't need to give me notice. I just had to go home then and then. So I was like, boy, like, I need a skill that's not only going to make me work physically, but it's going to make me work mentally, because then I can do it when I'm 100 years old. So I was like, cool. So I'm going to learn how to program. So that's like bit by bit, it started building. Then as I got better with the programming, I remembered, oh my God, data science. So I started reading up about it. I got 2 books. One was The Master Algorithm. One was Super Intelligence. I read through them and I was like, all right, cool. This is not as scary as I thought. I'm going to be an AI researcher. But as I got more and more exposed, I was like, oh, there's a practitioner side of this thing. So I started driving my efforts towards there. I taught myself the maths. I taught myself the programming. Anything I needed to learn, I was just doing it. And then I started going to meetups where I met my manager, the guy who became my manager because he saw my laptop, and everything just fell into place. And then since then, the data science community is amazing. They're really helpful. So I've had loads of support going forward, and now that's yeah.
So just out of curiosity, which team was it that you're going to play for?
It's called Dagenham and Redbridge. At the time when I was there, they were in Premier League, Football League, League One, League. They were in League 2 when I was there. Now I haven't played football in so long, man. So I only watch Chelsea, so I don't really know about the lower leagues anymore. But I don't know if they're in League 2.
So when that's quite a lot to self-teach and learn by yourself. And I think that is an incredible point to make here, is the fact that you don't necessarily need to go through like a formal training program or a formal certification program. If you understand the things that you need to pick up, everything can be learned because there's so many resources online.
Oh yeah.
Talk to
there's so sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
there's
no, all good.
Resources, but I mean it's probably not something everyone should do. Is definitely what I would say. But for myself, this is how I've learned most things. Like I remember, I never had a driving instructor. I turned 16 and bought a car, and then whenever my brother was around or my dad was around, I asked them if they can sit in the car with me and let's drive. And that's literally how I picked it up. Like, but I think my brother gave me this how can I say, this image of clutch and brake moving not simultaneously, but like however I'll describe that that movement. But I would dream about it. Like I'll just imagine the clutch going down, accelerator coming off, accelerator going down, clutch coming up, and it just felt natural whenever I got in the car. So, but and that's the same thing. I think that's translated into data science now. So yeah.
That's interesting because there's a couple of like brain processes going on there, right? One of them is, first of all, you're learning how to do the thing through instruction, through watching people, and then taking it away and thinking about it later, right? Yeah, so if you apply that to learning data science, you could sit and watch a lecture, watch a YouTube video, but if you don't apply it, right, in the form of maybe a small project, and then when you're away from the actual material, if you're not at least mulling over the concepts in your head, trying to internalize it, understand it, then it's hard to do really anything, I guess, creative with the work, right?
No, exactly. Because you see gaps in your brain when you're thinking about it. Like I can't really explain it. There is probably some sort of explanation for it somewhere, but as you're thinking about things, you start seeing things and you can't justify it. So you would fabricate it in your mind. And that's when you know, oh my days, I've just made something up. I need to go and check this thing out. And so you'll go back and say, that's where I didn't understand it. So if we're looking at gradient descent, for example, I might just be like, okay, so the ball is rolling down the hill, but how does it miss the local minimum, or how does it miss the minimum? No, there's something not going on with my brain. Like what's missing? What have I missed? And then I'll go read about it, and that's just how it'll come.
And the writing that you do, is that kind of a way for you to synthesize that information?
Now, yeah, I think is a better way, because before I would always do it in my mind. My manager at work tipped me off, and he was like, Kurtis, you should write down what you're learning when you're learning, because it will help with your brain processes. And I was like, yeah, this makes sense. That's cool. If it's going to help. Then I just started applying it.
So I get these messages from people on LinkedIn, even some from my mentee network at Data Science Dream Job. And a lot of people they're scared of sharing their thoughts, or scared of putting themselves out there because they don't want to look like they don't know what they're talking about, or they don't want to look, incorrect or whatnot. Yeah. How did you overcome that? Did you have that kind of feeling of, oh shit, man, like what if I say something and I don't say it exactly right? Because there's always people out there that get a nitpick, right? I can think of a few on LinkedIn that do this consistently. Not going to name any names, but it makes people afraid to share, and that's not good. So were you battling any of that yourself?
I don't think anybody would not battle that. However, I've got my methods of dealing with it. Like, I don't mean to make it like a sad story on the platform or anything, but the first thing I'll think of, if I'm scared of doing something, I'll just say, hey, I've been on the phone to my closest friend dying. Like, there's nothing that can be worse than that. There's nothing that can hurt me more than that. Or I would also say, dude, I was in a massive cult and I was on TV talking about a cult, about people that were my friends, that I no longer agree with their beliefs. There's nothing more embarrassing than that. So if I get something wrong about linear regression, who gives a crap? Like, because I've been embarrassed, I've been hurt, and I've been embarrassed. So there's nothing worse, So I kind of just take it on the chin. If someone corrects me, I just see it, hey, this person wants me to be a better person. That's it.
That's an important viewpoint to have, man. Like, don't take the attacks as personal, like they're not even necessarily attacks. You're perceiving them disproportionately, right? Some people are assholes, that's for sure. But sometimes people are just helping you correct your own.
Yeah. Genuinely, I genuinely feel there's a lot of people in the world that just want you to be better. And so I will first put on those goggles when I'm looking at feedback that someone's given to me. This person wants me to be better. And if I'm better, the world will be a better place. That's it.
So before we dig into your writing a little bit, I'm curious, what are you excited about when it comes to data science and machine learning? Like, how are you excited about its application in the near future?
Oh, I don't think I've really thought through. However, there are things where I'm like, yo, if this was to work and it worked properly, this would be dope. Like autonomous vehicles. Like, I hate driving. My mom, every time she wants to go shopping, she'll ask me to drive. And I'm just like, oh, imagine we had an autonomous vehicle. I just set the route, you go. So, okay, let me not say I haven't thought about it. Yeah, autonomous vehicles. Like, if there's something autonomous that could, like just do everything for us, then it's great. But then there's also the ethical side of things where you're like, but my friend's an Uber driver, and that means my friend might not have a job if this thing comes into play soon. So there are a lot of things to think of, and right now I try not to think so much about like what's gonna happen, mainly because I'm so concerned with what am I doing now. And when you start thinking so far ahead, I just feel like sometimes you can start getting a bit stagnant because there's so many things that you can think of that could go wrong. And it probably doesn't help, like just focus on it. So yeah, a lot of the time I'm thinking, what am I doing now? What's going on now that I can get involved with and, take off. So I'll say right now, that thing is probably natural language processing. I'm enjoying it. Machine translation and things like that. I've just recently learned about it and I'm like, oh wow, I can't wait to apply this on something and build something with it. So yeah.
That's cool, man. I like that. Dude, autonomous vehicles in London would be super clutch. I've visited London several times, and the last time my wife and I were there, 2017, I drove in, I had a rental car and I was driving around London. I drove from Hounslow West all the way to Woolwich.
Jeez, man. North to south.
Yeah. And that shit was crazy, man. Like there are cars coming out from everywhere, roads that are like super skinny and oh my God, dude. And it took like 3 hours. And I was like, dude, there's only 25 kilometers on the map. I was like, oh, okay, well, this should take like half an hour, 45 minutes. It took like 3 hours.
London, it gets so congested. They've even, you probably have congestion zones in Canada.
Yeah, Winnipeg's different than a lot of Canada. It's a small little city.
Okay.
Yeah.
So London has congestion zones and is being extended a lot further. So just to reduce people driving, so it gets congested. And you went through the worst place ever because I've never been to Woolwich and it's not busy. Like even on the least busiest day, it's busy. So.
And there's some study I was reading in a book about cab drivers in London, and they did some neuroscience type of study because apparently to become a cab driver in London, you have to memorize the streets, and you develop. They have really thick myelination in certain parts of their brain because of them having to memorize these routes, right? Like it's crazy. If I could find the study, I'll link to in the show notes. But the interesting thing you said there about, you have friends that are Uber drivers, autonomous vehicles might come and take their jobs. But don't you think that some of these things that machine learning and AI can automate for us, it would result in some jobs being taken away in the short run, but in the long run, on a grand scale, it frees up humanity to do more interesting creative work?
Honestly, this is the discussion I was having with a mate yesterday, and I'm 1000% with you on that. Their argument was that some people don't have the capacity or something like that to do it. And I was just, I was really trying to empathize because I was like, what do you mean you don't have the capacity? If you've got access to the internet, you could learn whatever you want. So when you say you don't have the capacity, what are you talking about? But where I haven't quite understood their side of the argument properly, I don't want to just be like, you're talking rubbish. Like, I genuinely believe more jobs will come from AI and as it grows and stuff like that. But it's just now I want to understand what their argument is on the other side, where they're like, no, we're going to lose our job. What are we going to do? What's this and so on. When I get a better understanding of their argument, I think that would, give me a better stance on my own position. But for now, as things stand, I'm definitely more jobs are going to be made because of artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and you think about it now, like the types of jobs that we have now in 2020, even in 2010, some of these jobs didn't exist, right? 20 years ago, in the year 2000, a lot of these jobs that we have now didn't exist, right? For example, podcasting 20 years ago, who would have thought that was a job? Who would have thought that you can write articles on the internet, get paid for it, or make videos and get paid for it? Who would have thought that you could have gotten paid as a search engine optimization type of person or a content marketer or all these different jobs that are now created? So we don't know what the future is going to look like in terms of jobs. There's not like the same number of jobs since the beginning of time history that we're all fighting each other over. Like new technology is going to create new things, and these new things are going to require more human services to keep them functioning. But yeah, that's definitely, it's an important, valid point. And thanks for sharing your perspective on that. Going back to some of your writing, you did this great piece about why you don't need to get a job in data science to get data science experience, which is an awesome way to flip the need to get experience to, need experience to get experience type of argument. So let's dig into this a little bit. So how can we use volunteer experience to build up our data science profiles?
I mean, it's not obviously, okay, it is, but I spoke to a leading data scientist, Tom Ives. I don't know if you've come across him. And he was just like, well, what is data science? Is it not just getting insights from data? You don't need to have a title to get insights from data. If you can ask someone, hey, yo, like, you have lots of data, can I help you? Can I help you find some interesting things out? You can do data science with that. And if they benefit from it, you've done data science on a business level. So it is as simple as that. People have data. A lot of people aren't data literate. How can you help? And just looking for opportunities to say, hey, I want to help you out. Like, so recently, I haven't done it yet, but for my most recent post, I spoke about maybe freelancing might be the way. And that was going off the back of a report I saw where the unemployment rate in the UK has risen to 4.5%. And I was just like, hey, wait a minute, what if I'd done a project where I looked deeper into those numbers and said, okay, so how is it affecting the artificial intelligence sort of fields? So the data field, how's recruitment in data science, machine learning, data analytics, how is that being affected by COVID-19 and the unemployment rate that's rising, So it's something I'm thinking about. Should I do it? Am I bothered and all these things? But it is a project and you're getting experience from it. So if you want to do it, you should do it,
And even if you're in your current role, right, and you're trying to break into data science, but let's say you don't have a data science role, data science title, like you probably still have access to some sort of data. Right?
Exactly.
And you could still do data science work. Like nobody's like watching over your shoulder saying, no, you cannot use a random forest to solve this. You cannot, like nobody's doing it. So you can still solve problems. Yeah.
Yeah. And the truth is, like, I've mentioned it before, but the term data science is too broad. Like it's not necessarily, I don't think it holds as much meaning as it used to when the report first came out by Harvard saying it's the sexiest job. We've got things, we can go into things as we want and just say this is data science anyway. So like you can be in the IT team and you see that you've got a lot of data from the IT team and do data science, but it's because it's that vague. You know, if you just start analyzing it and you find, hey, we can build a model that is going to allow us to determine what tickets to deal with first or something like that, or where something may arise in the future, like a server may go down or something. You don't need to call it data science. You've got data and you're working on it, you know? So
That's an interesting point, that data science is it's kind of an all-encompassing term. It's vague. It's kind of like just telling somebody I'm an accountant, right? Like you get a general sense of, okay, you're an accountant, but under the hood, there's like 10 different types of accountants, right? Or you could say that I'm an engineer, but then what kind of engineer? Structural engineer, mechanical engineer, civil engineer, like, right? So data science is kind of like that, or you can say, yeah, I'm in data science. Oh, okay, well, what part of data science could it be? Data engineering, AI research, data analyst, things like that, right? Is that kind of what you're saying there?
Exactly. And I think now, like, because the question people would always ask is, where do you think the field's going? And then if you ask the statisticians, they'll say, yeah, more statistical modeling. If you ask the software engineer type data scientists, is, yeah, more software engineering. And I think that's just a sign to show you that, like, the field is vague, is very vague and very broad. And the truth is, neither of them are wrong. If they believe there's more statistical modeling to be done, that's because that's what they see. And it's true. There probably is more statistical modeling. But at the same time, we're going to need to deploy more systems. So there is going to be more software engineering and more of a software engineering sense of things. So I just think who you speak to will tell you where you feel like where they feel like the field's going to go. So that just shows you it's very vague, very broad. You define it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking as a statistician myself, for statistician for many, many years, it's very easy to get very dogmatic in thinking about one particular, or thinking in one particular way, and to open yourself up to another point of view and learn that point of view. It challenges a lot of your assumptions. It makes you you have to have a beginner's mind, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It makes you feel like you don't know what the fuck is going on because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that, man. So another thing you talked about in that article, we're talking about networks, and funny thing, you mentioned Tom Ives. He's awesome, man. I love that guy. I'm in a group chat with him. I don't know how I ended up in a group chat with we got Tom Ives, Scott Taylor, T. Scott Clendaniel, Kate Strachny, and all these other people. Ended up in a group chat with them somehow. But yeah, he's cool, man. Cool guy. But yeah, it comes down to network, right? So talking about networks, how can we leverage our networks in the right way to kind of help us out?
Well, first thing I'll say is please don't message anyone saying, if you see a job opening, tell me, because that is so I don't even understand why people feel like it'll work. Maybe it does, I don't know. But if you're just meeting someone over the internet, they have no connection with you whatsoever. So if your first message is them, hey, I like this, can you tell me when you see a job opportunity? It's almost going to be like, dude, you're a twat. Like, don't do that. If you really want to connect with someone, you know, understand their message that they're trying to put out there. And if you agree with it, follow it, you know, connect with them, speak with them, say, hey, man, I love this post that you put out, and I think he was talking some sense. Or, hey, even if you don't agree with something, it's a good opportunity for you to speak to someone and open up your horizon to what else is there in the field. Because like I said, it's a very big field, and you will learn so much just genuinely trying to understand the message that someone's trying to put across online.
Comes down to understanding human nature, man. Like you can't come up to somebody and just tell them what you want. Like, expect me to care about it, man. You gotta like talk. Like there's self-interest. Everybody's interested in themselves, and that's just the fact of human nature. So if you are gonna reach out to somebody, at least first talk about them to get it.
At least.
That's an excellent point, man. So we're talking a little bit about how you're self-taught, but let's dig into this a little bit more. You wrote this article describing your process for leveling up in 8 months.
Yeah.
Talk to us about kind of how did you roadmap this out, or was there roadmap? Like how'd you go about this? How did you narrow down what it was that you needed to learn? And then you kind of narrowed that down. How did you go about setting up the roadmap?
Great question. So I think you always want to start from where you stand and say, what do I know? And justify it. Like, ask yourself questions. I say, I know what linear regression is. Now I'll be like, cool, explain it. And if I can't, then I don't know it. And I also have this view of what do I want to know? And I'll say, I want to know deep learning. I want to understand what's going on. So first, I'll put a lot of time into what I should know because I felt like I knew it, and get that up to date, get that like strong. I feel like that one is a lot easier to do because you already have some background about it, hence why you felt like you knew it. And then from there, the field is so intertwined with each other that if you understand some fundamentals in machine learning, you can move on into the deep learning side of things and understand it pretty easily as well. And it is not that difficult. So definitely start where you are. I'm here. This is where I am. I feel like I understand these things. I'm going to prove to myself I understand these things. If I do understand these things, I'm going to move on to the things that I would like to understand and work from there. And that there's not really much of a structure. I don't know if that's a structure, but that's how I like to think of it for myself.
So people are always like, they don't know how to start. They don't know where to start, right? So when you say figure out where you are right now, does that mean, okay, so I guess, okay, how am I going to phrase this question? So figure out where you are right now, but in relation to data science. So
yeah. So like, in the beginning, it's quite difficult to define where you want to go in the field of data science. So I would say definitely follow the general path. Like there's a general path. You should know this: calculus, linear algebra, probability, stats, Python programming or R programming, and then what's next? Just playing with data. I don't know, whatever comes next, but you want to have that fundamental path in. I'll definitely say get good with tabular data before you move on to unstructured data, and then when I say start from where you are, you've got an idea of the field. You have a general sense of these are the things that I can do in data science. And where I am now is probably not where I want to be, but I can improve these skills that will move me closer towards where I want to be. Great book that I read recently, recommended to me by Scott Clint Daniel, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read it in the past, but I think after I had a conversation with him and he broke it down to me, I was just like, wow, I need to read this book again because I really don't think I understood it. And the second habit was start with the end in mind. No, wait. First habit was be proactive. Yes. Second habit was start with the end in mind. And that's the concept you're trying to get here. You of course, if you're proactive, that means you follow the path, the fundamental path of becoming a data scientist. So what I just explained. And then as you've got some sort of stance in the field, some sort of overview, you can now begin to picture what the end should look like for you. Of course, it's not the end like I'm dying here. No, end like this is where I want to be. And you can begin to take steps towards that direction. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a crucial element. I think like that's for problem solving, right? For problem solving, start with the solution that you are working towards and then break it down into smaller, discrete chunks, handle each discrete chunk and then put it back together. And all of a sudden you have a result.
Exactly.
Something you said that was really important in there. You mentioned, all these different skill sets, but eventually you got to get to a point where you start getting some data, start playing with some data. So I guess what would you say is the most important data science project that someone can do?
You're using the blog that I wrote, right? Okay. The one project is definitely going to be adding value to yourself on a consistent basis. I know that can sound very, very vague, but it is not if you have an overview, again, of where it is you're trying to go. At the end of the day, data science is about how you can help others with the information you know. And the more value you add to yourself, the more value you can add to others, as in terms of skill sets, how I can better myself. If I continue to better myself and I show people that this is the problems that I can solve for you, people know or now have a basis of why they should reach out to me. Like, okay, this is the guy, he calls himself the data guy. Why am I going to call him instead of my cousin Larry or whoever, you know? So adding value to yourself is a non-stop thing. I don't think you can just say, yeah, I'm just going to pick up, you know, just hypothetically speaking, I'm going to pick up an iris data set and that's going to be the project that's going to get me a job. No, when you get a job, that's not the be all end all. You still got to add value to yourself. You've still got to improve yourself because you're not doing it to just get a living. This is a job that's going to require you to think constantly. And if you're not doing that, you probably won't be adding as much value to whoever it is you're serving with your skills in that moment. So yeah, it's adding value to yourself nonstop.
Some very, very good insight there, man, because very rarely in the real world do you just get a data set and are told to do science on it. That's not how it works, right? Yeah. There's usually several data sets spread out across multiple tables and multiple databases. Each of them have a little bit of what you need, and then you have to find some way to put it together and solve a question. But first of all, you have to be able to communicate with people to figure out what the question is that you're actually trying to solve, get clarity and alignment around that, right? Yes. And these are all skills that the iris data set won't teach you, and these are all skills that you have to be willing to learn. Like you said, it's constant thinking, man. That's why I love data science. I love knowing that I'll probably never be a master in data science because it's so big. That's what I love. But I love the challenge of trying to approach mastery. If anything, I mean, I've been doing this for nearly 10 years. I haven't been doing data science per se for nearly 10 years, but you know, I started out teaching math to high school students, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, grad school, and then working in different quantitative roles. It just developed an intuition and an understanding of what might work, what might not work. And for me now, the challenge is making that intuition generalize across problems that I've never seen before. Yeah, if that makes sense. So having that level of understanding of what it is that you're doing. Yeah. So talk to me more now about another piece that you had written about making data science projects stand out.
This one was about writing READMEs. I don't think people find them as effective as they actually are, because sometimes I like to, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but sometimes I go on GitHub and I'll be looking at projects and seeing what they've done and how they've gone about things. And then I'll land on a project that sounds really good, but there's no documentation. There's no README. And I'm like, you've done this beautiful thing, or probably you've built something beautiful, but I don't know how to use it. So how the hell am I going to understand what you've done? So I feel like people that take time to write a README, they're obviously someone that has been very, very forward thinking and conscious about other people when they were building their project. So I think it stands out straight away, because it's like you're thinking about other people, you know, and that's what data science is about. It's about other people, how you can help other people with your data, So yeah.
Yeah, the README files are super important, especially with like personal projects that you're doing as part of a portfolio. Like at least make your README file kind of like a executive summary of sorts. It may not be like a full package that you've put together that's meant to be executed by somebody else, but if it's just meant to communicate a problem statement and you're thinking through it, have that README file, use all the advantages of Markdown, right? And just make it beautiful, make it stand out, like as if it was a report that you're turning in.
Yeah. No, honestly, because I would never link to anyone else's profile and be like, this is an example. But in fact, there's probably there's one on mine that I haven't got a readme for because I've got it on my local computer. But that there could be some crazy good work in there, and there's been times where I've landed on someone's profile, I've kind of tripped and fell and landed on the actual work that they've done. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I've tripped about and landed on the actual work that they've done, and the actual work is really good. Like there's things in there, and I'm like, wow, I never would have thought of that. But I don't know if someone would have the patience like I had to click around on things like that. Someone else who's probably more important than I would ever be to someone who's put the work on their profile. Like I'm not going to hire you, but someone who probably is or can probably offer you something that's going to be greater than what I ever could will land on it and just be like, hey, look, I don't understand what you're doing. Sorry. And that's an opportunity missed.
Make it easy for people to see the value that you can contribute, right? Don't make it hard for them. Don't make them work for.
Exactly.
So let's do a last formal question before we jump into our random round. It is 100 years in the future. What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, I really should have thought about this. I think I want to be known as the guy who changed perceptions. Like I said, I grew up in an area where you're either a rapper or a footballer. And if you're not, you're on drugs or you're dead or in jail, So I want to change perceptions. Maybe I'm thinking a bit small here in saying that, I want to change the perception in my neighborhood. But I know there's many neighborhoods like this around the world, and so can do extremely well, and it's not by doing those two activities or some other illegal stuff. We can do things right. And speaking more generally, just an advocate for, we always have this diversity conversation, but I feel like nowadays the diversity conversation is about more women in the workplace. And I think that's not covering the full scope of what diversity means. Diversity is more diverse people. That's gender, race, culture, et cetera. I don't feel like that's being covered. And so also if I can appeal to a more diverse background and get more, Black Africans or Black whatever, Black British, whatever, Black Americans involved in technical fields and not just physically trying to do physical stuff, which is still great, by the way, don't get me wrong. But if we want to have more of a say in the world, we need to be in the rooms where important decisions are being made. And that's going to take us, we probably have to work a lot harder than some more privileged people, which is fine. Our parents done their best for us, but this is the situation we have. And so I really want to be known as the guy that inspired that desire in people to want to improve themselves in these underprivileged communities, to reach places that no one thought was possible for people like us.
I dig it, man. I respect that. What can we do now to, help make this possible? What could the rest of the data community at large do to help foster the inclusion of more, I say people of color, and I don't mean just Indian people or Asian people. Like when it comes to data science, I'm not even sure we count as people of color because we flood the field, right? They're all Indians and Asians, but let's talk about what can we do to make the field more appealing to Black people, to Latinos, to anybody else. How do we do that?
If I had the answer to that right now, I think we would be definitely on course, because I don't doubt my ability to influence people, positively, that is, as well. But I truly don't know. I think right now, you see, I don't want to generalize to a whole people, but I'm probably going to anyway. I feel like, especially in the Black community, we see with our eyes, is what looks shiny, Again, I don't want to generalize because there are some people that are not like that. But we don't look into things. It's like we just see it and we say, hey, that's what it is. When sometimes is no, you have to look a little bit deeper into things and you see that, no, this is probably not the most healthy thing for me. It's not the most conducive thing that I should be doing with my time. But the things that you should be doing, they look boring. You know, come on, like, for example, who wants to eat vegetables, but we all know it's good for us. You know, who wants to study? We know it's good for us, but who wants to do it? And the requirements of becoming a data scientist is almost like, well, I speak for myself, you probably won't have friends, you know? And like I said, the greatest thing that happened to me was being able to start my life all over again. And because of that, I didn't have friends around me. So studying for 24 hours isn't difficult for me because no one's going to call me like, hey, Kurtis, let's go out. Whereas I feel like that distraction is more prevalent when you're much more involved in the society, you know? So I feel like now, for myself at least, having this time away where I've been involved in the society and engaged in the Black community and doing all the things that goes on. Now I've been disengaged and I'm seeing life from a new perspective. I feel like as I get a better understanding of this side of life, I'll be able to link the two together and come with an answer for you. Like, how can we get these people that are less interested in what's going on here involved? But as things stand, I have no answer, man.
No, I appreciate you sharing your insights on that, man. Thank you very much. Let's jump into our random round here, starting with the first question. What are you currently most excited about or currently exploring?
Yeah, that would definitely be natural language processing. So if we're talking about data science still, that is. Okay, yeah. So that would definitely be natural language processing. I've been so... I want to... This is my thing with data science. I love data science, but I want to build something tangible. I want to be able to touch it and say, hey, look, this is what I built, you know? And I feel like with the unstructured work that's coming along, you get more of that thing where, hey, look, you just type something and, you know, I can translate it into Tree, which is the language we speak in Ghana. But whereas with, you know, marketing and digital side of data science, it's just a lot of behind the scenes dashboards. And of course, there's predictions and stuff like that. But with that, that's very tangible. I've not seen a translator translate English into my language before. So I can be like, hey, to the people back home, here you go. If you want to learn how to speak English, this is what you have, you know? Like, it's a bit more, I can touch it. I don't know if I've explained it well, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess so we talked about from the data science angle. What about outside of data science? What are you currently exploring?
Yeah. So I do calisthenics. At the moment, the weather outside is not the greatest. So I've been focusing a lot on my statics side of calisthenics. So handstands, plunges, L-sit holds and things like that. And a bit of like flexibility, yoga style stuff. Yeah, I in my spare time, I literally just try and do push-ups and work on stretching and doing splits and stuff like that. It's so random, I know, but
that's cool, man. That's important. It's important stuff to work on. What are you most inspired by right now?
I've written out a list of people that have done things in the world. It's like I'll give you an example. So I'll have like LeBron James, Michael Jordan. Well, maybe not LeBron James. It's more legends. So Michael Jordan, Bill Gates, John D. Rockefeller, Edison. You know, I'll have these names and like I'm going through each and every one of them's biography just to understand how they think and how they done things, how they managed to overcome certain situations that they would have encountered to reach the levels and the heights that they have. I see it as a little project for me. I still feel as though I'm only starting out my career. So having a good overview of what can take me the full mile. Like I know I want to cause big impact in the world, you know. So I think seeing it from now is very important. So yeah, definitely that.
I think you will really be interested in this book, Mastery by Robert Greene. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but it sounds... Yes, that one. Yes. So yeah, Mastery by Robert Greene, good book. Like I've got a bunch of, I got his concise, I got the long audio versions of all his books, but I got the concise versions as well. I'm actually scheduled to interview Robert Greene.
No way.
In a couple of weeks. So
no way. Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I need to hear that.
But yeah, that's crazy, man. You got Mastery right there as well. Yeah, it's a good book.
Oh yeah, Robert Greene was one of the first people that I started looking at. In fact, I started looking at him when I was still within the church. Because those books, I felt like these were things that would it would provoke you to want to learn and stuff like that. So Mastery, 48 Laws of Power, yeah, they definitely were pivotal in my movement.
Yeah, in 48 Laws of Power, I think he has like a one of the laws is build a cult-like following or something like that.
No, but this is the thing. I read the 48 Laws of Power as part of how I was going to rise through the ranks in the cult. Because, you know, like I said, when I was there, I didn't know I was in a cult. I thought I was in the church movement. And so I was doing the things that I was being told to do. And I'll just be totally honest with you. The way I rose to the top is that I attached to someone that was at the top and I was just following him around every day. I didn't do anything. I just got close to leadership and they saw my availability and used me. That was it. And I think that same concept applies in the real world as well. Like if you find someone that you think is doing great work, stick on them and they'll pull you up. The minute they see that you're willing to do work, they will grab you and drag you up. So
yeah, no, it's absolutely true, man. I mean, Robert Greene talks about that in Mastery as well, like, you know, finding a mentor and
yeah. And then the building of a cult-like following. I had my own church, and someone asked me what was my goals for the year 2017, and I actually had that down, like. But these times I was fully gone, like I was proper involved in the church and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I want to build a cult-like following. He was like, how are you going to do that? And I was like, people need to see what it is you believing and they need to have a reason to buy into it and stuff like that. And so understanding, connecting with people, getting a deep intuition. Do you know what? I feel as though this is the wildest thing I'm probably going to say on this podcast because I don't think a cult is where you go and learn people skills, but that's where I learned people skills. Like I was dealing with people on a daily basis and I was so young, you know. I think I became ordained as a pastor when I was 19 and I was preaching, you know. No, I was 20. Sorry, I was 20. And I was preaching to people older than me. They're coming to me with their problems and I'm listening to what they're saying. And you get a better understanding of how people operate and when people are in desperate situations, how they begin to act and things like that. And the truth is, it hasn't left me. I still have these intuitions about things, but I'm a bit more, I left only 2 years ago. I'm just a little bit cautious now, like, okay, am I doing this correct? I hope I'm not doing this in a way that's going to manipulate this person because then that's bad. I need to be sure I'm doing this correctly. So then I wouldn't just implement the things that I learned back then straight away. I'll check, am I doing it sincerely? Am I doing this with the right intentions? Because like I was a leader there. You learn how to manipulate people, you know? You learn how to, a tactic I used on myself to learn data science. I'm probably talking too wild, man, but a tactic I learned on myself is I learned how to brainwash people in the church. I learned how to get someone from one faith and bring them here and drop everything they believed about whatever it is they believed in before and follow this as diligently as possible. And so I'll start thinking back on things like, how did I change my mind? How did I change someone else's mind to do that? Because once upon a time, I was that person. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's the same concept that I've used to try and change my mind about where I want to go with data science and all of these things. Is a bit wild. It's a bit wild, but like, I feel like this is, again, a crazy thing. Everyone has to brainwash themselves to some extent. Now, I say that because if you're not brainwashing yourself, someone else is going to be doing it to you, no matter what. There's going to be sales coming to you saying, hey, buy this. And that is a form, I don't know if we can say it's a form of manipulation, because it happens. You know, everyone is doing it. Everyone is selling something, how they dress, everyone's doing it. And if you're just that much conscious about the message you're selling, you're a little bit more powerful than someone who doesn't know the message they're selling, and they will buy yours because of their uncertainty. Mm-hmm. And that's literally what it is. So I don't want to speak. I don't want to sound like a crazy person, you know.
No, I mean, you understand human nature pretty well, man, because that's what it is. So
it's come from a bad place. So I'm skeptical about it, because it's like, hey, we've manipulated people. The reason I went on the documentary, because I felt guilty that I've manipulated people to come and join this thing, and I've just left. You know, I was in a high position. I've just left them there. So I went on it just to show them that, look, this is not what I believe in anymore, guys. If you feel like, you know, I brought you here, whatever, cool. But like, I don't think if you've like been through a cult and you come out the other end, then you're still okay, because I know there's people that are going through it now when they've got out of it. Of course, like I said, I've had worse happen to me, so it was never going to make me feel like I can't do anything with myself anymore. But there's people going through it. Anyways, the skills you learn there are probably the best for learning people skills anywhere in the world. I'm not advising anybody to go and join a cult to learn people skills, because it's not where you should go to learn people skills. But the skills you will learn there are going to be extremely, extremely advanced, because you're going to make people do the wildest things. You're going to... The senior pastor there, is in a position where if he said, guys, God forbid this ever happens, because it possibly can, you know? But if he ever says, guys, it's time we go and take our own lives, the people there are going to say, yes, sir, and they're going to join him and take their own lives. But that's because he's sold them on a belief so much that they're willing to do anything for it. And, you know, of course, there's completely everything wrong with that. However, at the same time, you're still going to need to sell someone to do the good. Like Bill Gates would have to sell his team at Microsoft to do the good, to build Microsoft. So it's like the question of intelligence, because no doubt the senior pastor there, he's intelligent, but intelligence goes left and it goes right, you know? So, well, I'm
very interesting. No, man, that's super interesting. I mean, there's some great books out there about persuasion. Robert Cialdini has some excellent writings on that topic. And like I said, I'm working on a piece about influence and persuasion for data science, but in the context of working with stakeholders and convincing stakeholders to take on your ideas. But it's still playing on the same, I want to say, psychological techniques.
Honestly, I don't think it's different. I just think the agenda behind the person who's implementing it is different. The intent behind the person is different. It's not different at all.
Yeah. So if you could have a billboard put up anywhere, what would you put on it?
Ubuntu. It sounds weird, I know, but it's a saying from a South African leader, and it means through you, I am. So if the reason why I exist is because you exist, and if we can understand that there's no individual amongst us all, and we all have to work together to make everything around us better, then everything will be much better. So Could I give an example?
That gives some completely different meaning to the Linux distribution now.
Oh yeah, because there is a Linux distribution called Ubuntu.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were gonna.
If you Google the word Ubuntu, it means I can't. It's definitely through. I don't know the English translation from South African to English, but generally speaking, it means through you I exist. If you don't exist, I don't exist.
That's deep. All right.
Yeah, let me see.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, I am because you are. That's the exact English translation.
Ah, that does bring totally new meaning now to
Linux, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's get into what you're currently reading. So what are you currently reading right now?
Currently, I won a prize by on something called the Rabbit Show.
Oh yeah.
Rabbit, he's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, he's part of that group chat that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, he's in.
Okay. You know what's crazy? He does so much for the community, and he's not a data scientist.
Yeah.
But it was Philip Boile here, the open source advocate for natural language processing, picked me to win some prize because I asked the question. I didn't know there was a prize or anything, but the book they gave was Practical Natural Language Processing. So I'm going through that now, trying to wrap my head around different concepts in it. And yeah, so it's a technical book.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Yeah, I don't really read technical books too much unless it's like, so like I data science is what I do like during my day job, right? That's like, that's kind of like my philosophy towards it. It's like I get paid to do data science. It's work to me. So when I read data science stuff, it's during work, and it's usually on a on-demand basis. Like, all right, what do I need to learn to solve this problem right now? Because whatever I'm currently using right now, it's not getting me a solution. We'll try to find stuff that I don't know to attack this problem. That's kind of how I do like a self-directed learning when it comes to data sciences. And I think that's because, I'm a graduate student in mathematics. I've taken several actuarial exams. I have a strong foundation in the basics. And so when it comes time to learn anything that I need to learn, it's not too much of a stretch for me. So I take a very much on-demand approach. I'm like, all right, here's the problem statement in front of me. My current skill set, is it sufficient to get me a answer that's going to deliver value for the business? If it is, let me rely on this tools that I have in my toolkit. If it's not, then I need to upskill and
do you read papers though?
I read a shit ton of papers.
Okay.
I read papers for inspiration to see what other people have done that I can take elements of and put into my own work, because I very much remix everything as a data scientist. Like, I don't care what domain the problem statement came from. If there's some parallel between what this paper is about and what it is that I'm currently working on, and I feel like there's an element of what they're doing that can apply to my solution, I'll take bits and pieces of that and just kind of mix them together until I have a solution that's going to work.
There was a book written by Austin Kleon.
Steal Like an Artist.
Yeah.
I've got that book right there. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, Steal Like an Artist.
Exactly that. Still like an artist. Sick,
that's
man.
Cool, man. So you got some similar taste in reading, it seems like.
Oh yeah, it does seem like it. I'm probably going to see what your bookshelf's like and nick a few books from there.
Yeah, man. I'll send you a picture, man. And a lot of the reading I do is based on people that come on my show. Like that's lately what's been reading my driving is by the guests that I have on my show and the books that they give me. So then I'll read the book and I'll come up with questions. So something I have releasing, I think in December, is a interview with Dr. Christian Busch. And he got his PhD from LSE, I think, London School of Economics.
Yeah.
And that's a really good episode. He wrote a book called The Serendipity Mindset.
Oh, wow.
So I think it's already released. It might be. So if it is, check it out. But definitely tune into that episode. I think you'll really enjoy that one. It was a good episode.
You said his name is Dr.
Christian Busch, and Busch. Yeah. And the book is called The Serendipity Mindset.
Oh, yeah. It comes up. Yeah.
I think I went through 60 books already this year. That was probably my favorite one.
Jeez, man.
Hands down.
How do you track how many books you're reading? I always hear people saying, I read 50 books, 40 books. But the truth is I don't count.
Yeah.
How do you track it?
Part of it is because I know how many people I've interviewed for the podcast, and most of them have books that I had to read. So there's that, and then my Audible listening history. Like you can.
Yeah. Okay.
What song do you have on repeat?
Oh, I don't listen to music as much, but there's 2 songs. No, there's 3 songs. They're a bit wild, and they're a bit old school. Billie Jean, Michael Jackson.
Oh shit! Nice, yeah.
Juicy, Biggie Smalls.
Okay.
And Nasty Girl, Biggie Smalls.
nice, man.
But my go-to is definitely Billie Jean and then Juicy.
That's awesome, man. That's good taste in the old school. Let's pull up a random question generator. Let's do a few out of this. I'll even join you on this. I'll answer some as well. So where is my screen at? All right. So you should see the random question generator here. First question says, what was the last book you gave up on and stopped reading?
That was a while ago because I really tried to finish everything that I started reading. There was an economics book I was reading and I was falling asleep every single time. I'll read 2 lines and sleep, but I can't remember what it's called. That's how bad it is. But yeah, for some reason, I was just reading economics books and stuff like that.
That's so funny because it's like the last book that I was reading and I gave up on was also an economics book.
Oh, yeah.
It was The Rational Optimist. I forgot who wrote it. But yeah, The Rational Optimist, which is a book about economics, a book about human prosperity, and how it's been changing over time. The reason I read it was because my idol is Naval Ravikant, and the author that wrote that book, like Naval Ravikant, loves that guy, and I was like, all right, well, if my idol likes this guy, let me read this book and see what it's about. And I just thought I stopped reading it. It was just too academic for me, man. I feel like, it was just too academic for me. That's what I mean. Maybe I'll pick it up again. When the time is right, I'm sure I'll pick it up again and start reading it. If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question, man. I'll probably go for it's not really a superpower, but it's more of a character. Can I do that?
Yeah.
I'll go for an Iron Man sort of character, but the personality of is it Mr. America? Captain America.
Okay.
So the personality of a Captain America and the character, like the intelligence, the skills, the suit, all that of Iron Man.
I like that. Damn, if I had a superpower, what would I pick as a superpower? I think one thing I would love to have is the ability to see how certain decisions I make would unfold maybe 10 to 15 steps into if I make this particular decision, here's a probability distribution of all the possible outcomes. And I guess to a certain extent, I guess that we can all do that to a certain extent, but I guess to boil it down, if I could have any superpower, it'd be to predict the future. I mean,
but we could do it to a certain extent, because you will say that someone who plays chess has got that intuition proper, locked in their mind. So it's almost like playing chess with your life.
Yeah. Well, I've got an interview that I'm releasing tomorrow with Annie Duke, and Annie Duke wrote this book, Thinking in Bets and How to Decide. Thinking in Bets, that book changed my life completely. And that book, essentially, the premise of it is something called Bayesian psychology, which means essentially looking at every choice you make and assessing the probability distribution of the future. It's a really interesting book. Highly recommend it. Tune into the episode tomorrow to listen to it. I mean, by the time this episode is released, that episode will have been in the past. So if you're listening to this episode and you got this far into it, go back and listen to Annie Duke's episode. Let's do one more here. If you lost all of your possessions but one, what would you want it to be?
I've already said this though, innit? Yeah. I'll say it would be my personal values, my core principles, things I stand by, that's what has guided me, and what protected me when I was in the craziest situations in my life as a silly teen, in my life as a cult member, in my life as I am now, is my principles. They've they've helped me, and they're always evolving and developing as I get older and stuff like that. So yeah. What about you?
I dig it, man. I mean, just to say consistent, and because it's not true, I'd probably make sure I scoop up the wedding ring that my wife gave me, 2 of them, just to make sure that, because that's something that's really not replaceable at all.
Yeah.
And that's the only material possession I have that I feel like is irreplaceable. Every other material possession, whatever, get a replica of it.
Man.
So Kurtis, how can people connect with you, and where can they find you online?
Great, yeah. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm now on YouTube. Oh, well, by the time this comes out, I would have a lot more stuff on YouTube.
Okay, nice.
I'm on Medium. Where else am I? I'm gonna start linking my Instagram to like my outside of work life. I mean, my work life as well. So you'll probably find me on Instagram. The easiest way to find me is just type Kurtis Pykes on Google, and you'll find everything I'm active on.
Yeah, definitely. I'll link to all that as well in the show notes and the guest profile. By the time this releases, I'm sure I'll have access to all of that. Yeah. Do that, man. Kurtis, thank you so much, man, for taking time out of the schedule to come on to the show today. I appreciate you being here.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much, Alfred.